Live picture that we are beaming to you right now. Team South Africa, which won both the men's relay finals and it being placed third in the women's 4x400 meters at the recently concluded World Relay Championships. In fact, I'm getting an instruction that we are not moving an inch because the world champions have just arrived. They are now entering through that particular area of the airport. Khotso Sello, you have a better vantage point than I do. Who have you seen thus far, and how's the mood at the airport?
Well, the mood is very festive, Oli. The athletes are coming through the door, as you can see on your screen there. Bayanda Walaza greeting the SASCOC president, Barry Hendricks, and of course Ocon, the tall man who was placed and medaled at the World Juniors and doing extremely well as transitioning into the senior ranks. As you remember, these teams did particularly well at the World Championships that recently concluded, the World Relay Championships, mind you, that recently concluded. And not only did they beat, the United States, they beat teams like Japan and, of course, Canada, who were quite threatening in that final. And as we remember last year, when they came back from the 2024 Paris Games, Coach Paul Horis did mention and did warn the rest of the world to say that Team South Africa is on a trajectory here. They're on a pyramid kind of program that they've built, which is building towards Los Angeles 2028 Olympics, and that is to medal there. And if you look at the teams that were picked for these championships in particular, there's a lovely blend between youth and, of course, experience. We've got a few teenagers in the team and a couple of experienced athletes. One name that does stand out in terms of the experience is Akani Simbine, who anchored that 4x100 meter, and reeling in the Americans right on the line. And Akani making sure that 3 of the members that were part of that silver medal team, were able to bring back that confidence onto the team and onto the track. We know that Sine Dambile was also part of this team. He was not part of last year's team that was in Paris Olympics, but he came in and ran the back straight with aplomb. And the one thing I think that stood out in particular at those championships was how smooth the transitions were in the relay. Relay is about the teamwork, not necessarily how quick one individual is. And their seamless, transitions from one athlete to the other was one thing that stood out, I think, as compared to the other teams at the World Championships. And I think that all comes through from camaraderie in the team. You could see after the 4x1 guys won their gold, they stuck around and waited for the girls who came back with the bronze in the women 4x4 relay. And then on top of that, still waited for the guys in the 4x4 final to come through with a gold. An unexpected gold, mind you, but what an unbelievable run by the 4x4 teams. Akelenene anchoring that one, looking as cool as you like down the home straight to make sure that Team South Africa comes back with 2 golds and the girls securing that bronze. And song is in the air in the international arrivals here at OR Tambo, where, some of the school children who've come off, I guess, from school straight to here, they're still in their school uniform and their bashers here to welcome, one of the athletes who is from Hoërskool Help Mekaar, and that is Kukumur, who ran a fantastic leg where he reeled in some of the opposition to make sure that Zakele Nene, comes home scot-free without any much trouble in, in the final leg of that 4x4, relay. So, plenty of excitement here, as you can hear the songs ringing around OR Tambo International Airport.
Well, I'll tell you this much, Sello, and that is that this particular arrival is quite significant, and it is important for us to give it the necessary boost. And when I say boost, I don't mean that slightly. So while you catch your breath and tell us exactly what you are seeing, I'm going to allow you that opportunity to watch carefully what is going on. We're going to stay on your picture, but don't go away. We are joined in studio by Gwena Mwabelo. Gwena, it's important that athletes are supported, and it does seem that our athletes are picking up ever so slowly, but they are making waves on the international stage. How important was this particular run in China? Because my understanding is that these were actually qualifiers to Tokyo, Japan.
Yes. Good afternoon, Oli. Yes, I mean, as you heard when Khotso was speaking to Hendrik earlier on in our sport crossing, he was talking about the process that they had to go through to get to where we are ranked #1 in the world in terms of relays. But also, it was important for Team South Africa to qualify for Tokyo. Those are the World Championships. If you remember, in the last World Championships, we didn't do too well. In fact, the previous World Championship, we were just making it, but never really gotten through. So now we will go to the next World Championships as #1 in the world relays, as the champions in the world relays, as the team to beat. That is very important. But remember also with the 4x100, we saw them at the Olympics where, again, Akani Simbine was anchoring, and then we got the silver. So I think that's when we send a message to the rest of the world that we're not just making up numbers in the world relays. Yeah. We're here to compete. You can go back to the previous world champs and the Olympics. It was a question of just getting the synergy, and Akani has spoken about this. Remember, we dropped the baton twice, which was very embarrassing in the world stage. I mean, there was that picture of Akani Simbine just holding, and waiting there for the baton, which never came. Oh. And you think about it, Akani is a gentleman of the sport. Ask any athlete in the world, they will tell you and he deserves, to at least get a medal. So everybody was happy to see him getting that silver. So it's one of those things. But then you look at him, and then you look at Bayanda Walaza. You and I have spoken about this. A young man, Sinesipho Dambile, who was running the second leg in the 4x100, coming off injuries. A young man who showed so much potential in the past couple of years, come off an injury, gets into the World Champs, is part of the team, and wins gold. So those are the positives that we are seeing.
Bayanda Walaza, and that's the man you have just been talking about. Sello, talk to us about what the pictures are beaming to us now. Bayanda Walaza moving across, and the understanding is that he is not the only newest arrival here. There is someone else whom you mentioned, a young athlete who's also coming up. Talk to us about that particular gentleman.
Kukemur.
As you can see, yes, Bayanda Walaza greeting his family there with all the excitement, with the gold medal hanging around his neck. Yes, he's not the only youngster in the team, Koli. That is correct. There's Lenray Kukemur, who is only 17 years old. And guess what? Tomorrow is his birthday, and he'll be turning 18 years old. And what a birthday present that will be. 18 years old with a gold medal around, a world relay gold medal around your neck. I don't think you would have asked for any other present that can supersede that. But that just goes to show the kind of quality that South Africa is producing at a junior level. And I think in the past, Koli, the problem has always been the fact that these youngsters were not able to translate that kind of form into the senior rank. I think there was a disjointment between the senior ranks and the junior ranks. And I think currently we have the quality athletes who are experienced enough to welcome the youngsters and make them acclimatize to the pressures that come with performing at the highest level overseas, away from home, in different conditions. It's more mental than talent at such a level. So I think currently the methods that are being implemented by Athletics South Africa, and of course in conjunction with SASCOC, you can see Barry Hendricks, the SASCOC president there, next to James Molloy, ASA president, next to each other. They're holding the South African flag high. And I'll tell you why, Oli, that this is important, because, you know, we like it or not, track and field is the premium sport when it comes to Olympics. Yes, there's all these other events that happen, but we close off the Olympics. People usually remember the track and field events, and I think South Africa has continually done below what they can possibly do. And I think with this new road to LA 2028, there's a clear mandate to make sure that these youngsters graduate as early as possible, expose them to as much competitive action in these next couple of years, to make sure by the time they get to the Los Angeles Games, they are not afraid of anything. They've seen it all. They've been in the battlefield, and they will not be, backing down from any sort of competition, at that level. We also saw Jean Verster, who is the former coach of 800-meter athlete Caster Semenya, who he coached all those years ago. He's from, the Sports Institute there in Potchefstroom. He's a sports scientist by profession, and we do know how much sports science nowadays in sports plays such a huge role. We've got guys like, Ross Tucker, who is a sports scientist, well known globally. We've got, Professor Tim Noakes, who's made his name as well in the USA, particularly in NBA and also NHL as a sports scientist. So it just shows you that in terms from an academic and scientific point of view, South Africa has all the resources that it needs to produce world-class athletes. And we do know that some athletes coming from Europe and of course the Americas do come to South Africa and use our high performance centers. So it's just a matter of time before South Africa can actually dominate. As you can see there, Dambile, he ran the back straight in the 4x100 meter, the new addition in the team. And did he not just fit in like a glove? Lyth Pillay, we've known him across all these years. He was, part of that, youngsters that came just after Wade van Niekerk. Unfortunately, he didn't crack the starters team, but he was part of the team. He arrived yesterday with the rest of the reserves and the guys. Here's Zakelenene right in front here coming through. Okon, another youngster in the glasses with a 4x4 gold medal around his neck. Kukumur, the youngster that I spoke about, who did ever so well, looking like a star, coming to address the media. And this is the team that did their country so proud. Lyth Pillay, as I mentioned earlier, he's also, here in support of his teammates. He did extremely well to be part of that team, but the competition in South Africa is extremely tight. I tell you, Koli, we can see Jean Verster and Ezekiel Sepeng. Do you remember him? Was a South African Olympic silver medalist at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, in conversation with Jean Verster. I don't know, they're perhaps maybe cooking up the revitalization of 800 meters, the middle distance here in South Africa. Currently, Koli, we're going to make our way towards the press room where we will have a press conference. And these are some of the girls who also were part of that relay team that got bronze. And we'll be making our way to the press room. Bayanda Walaza, one of the few athletes who are heading towards the media center, where we will have a full press briefing, which we will get all the reaction that we need from these guys.
Just quickly, as just as the guys are heading to the press room, I mean, you spoke about some of the youngsters there, and I mean, to see a youngster like Sinesipho Dambile coming in and fitting into that team. Remember, it was Patuchezo who ran the second leg in the Olympics, and to see Dambile just coming in there and fitting in like a glove. That actually shows again, because the mistakes that we used to make previously as Team South Africa was that of lack of synergy. And maybe because the four of them are in South Africa, it worked out better. And to see him again coming back in full form, injury-free, it shows indeed that the future of South African sprinting is in good hands. those are just
Certainly,
some of... Okay.
South African sprinting is...
Go ahead, Khotso. It's Kwena here. Go ahead.
Yes, Kwena, South African sprinting is certainly in good hands. And I think these sprinting academies have gone a long way in terms of making sure that our sprinters are looked after. I think the biggest thing that held us back, I guess, perhaps in the past was the fact that a lot of coaches and administrators were working in silos. And I think the new approach that has been brought through is the fact that everybody's working towards the common goal, and expertise are being shared. And there's meetings that are happening fortnightly or monthly where ideas are being exchanged. Particularly the biggest part is making sure that the youngsters coming through at grassroots level are not falling through the cracks. They are making sure that that talent is kept in a hub, in that sprinting ecosystem, to make sure that their progression into the senior ranks is seamless and they are not left to fend for themselves or perhaps drown like it was in the past. They've got the likes of a Wade van Niekerk who's seen it. They've got the likes of an Akani Simbine who can hold their hand through the entire process. So I think more than anything, it's the working together and the synergy and walking towards a common goal that's been the major difference.
Yeah. Sello, we don't want to miss a beat here. And I see that some of the athletes behind you there, including Walaza and Kukemur, I think they either taking pictures or selfies with family members. I want for viewers to see that, because you see...
So that is the school.
Where Kukemur
you
comes
remember
from.
Kukemur also, is still in matric, and Walaza just was at Kuro just last
Not
year.
so long ago.
So those are their classmates that have come to see them. Imagine. And they are, one thing I like about this, I mean, you look at a youngster like Walaza at his age, he's already an inspiration to others that are 2 years younger than him, 4 years younger than him. And they're looking at him that this was my schoolmate. This is Kukemur, who is my schoolmate.
And that's
he has just
inspiration
achieved
at
it.
its best.
So it just encourages a lot of youngsters to come through. And we've got lots of them. We've got the Leotlelas, the Dambiles. I mean, I can name about 6 or 7 sprinters that we can put in the 4x100, and they can do well. So it's great that we have the Akanis that have done it, but that still continue to hold the hands of these youngsters. But it's great to see really these true youngsters coming through and winning things at the world stage.
It's absolutely beautiful to watch, Kwena. We actually are not going to move away from this story, so don't touch that dial.